Mikel Arteta.
Nice segue.
So he's absolutely fuming that Newcastle's goal could have been ruled out in 3 different ways, which you can, kind of got some sympathy for. I would say 2 out of the 3 aren't in any way defo. So, whatever angle they were showing about the ball going out of play, it was quite clear they didn't have a conclusive one. Equally, the offside, probably, similar. I think it's the push where you would say, well, okay, yeah, probably should have been ruled out for 2 hands in someone's back. But either way, I don't really want to go into the decision itself. It's more the reaction to it, both from him as the Arsenal manager and then Arsenal as the club. And we all know what happened to Liverpool. We all know how people reacted about what we said about Spurs. We ended up doing basically a whole special show on it. You said the other week, mate, and it immediately came to mind when I was thinking about this. You said when Liverpool came out and said what they said and put the statement out and said that was the time when Arteta, Gary O'Neill, Dyche is another one I've seen cry arson quite regularly as well. Mm-hmm. All of these managers and the clubs above them, that was their opportunity to come together, come in behind Liverpool and say, not good enough this. We need to have a look at this, lads. This needs to change. This needs to improve. We don't think this is good enough for our product, our sport, our league. What did they actually do? Fuck all. So if we're now meant to have sympathy for Arteta or think it's a good idea that they've put a statement out now, he's come out afterwards, after Liverpool's incident, and said, we have to understand that mistakes happen. In front of a camera, in front of microphones. And now he's saying, I feel embarrassed. I have to be the one coming here to defend the club, ask for help. It's an absolute disgrace that this goal isn't allowed. An absolute disgrace. And then the club statement says, Arsenal Football Club wholeheartedly supports Mikel Arteta's post-match comments after yet more unacceptable refereeing and VAR errors on Saturday evening. Well, where were you after the Spurs match? Because it would have carried much more weight, wouldn't it, if Arteta had come out in behind Liverpool then and said, the right. And if Gary O'Neill had come in behind Liverpool and said, the right. And then they'd all started doing it. And then, PGMOL, Howard Webb, I've got to do something about it. And it doesn't matter what, someone's saying on Sky or on TalkSport or what Martin Samuel thinks about it or whatever. They've come out as the people directly involved in the game and said, not good enough, it has to change. What we've got now instead is it's easy for them to just go, Arteta's out of order, Arteta should be fined, what are Arsenal doing? It was a joke when Liverpool did it, it's a joke when Arsenal are doing it. No one seems to be saying, well, why are they doing it? Do you know what I mean? Because it is shit.
Yeah, but I paused there because I could fucking talk for hours on this, right? And we haven't got hours to talk about it. For me, Mikel Arteta, I like Mikel Arteta generally. And I think he's made an absolute twat of himself with this. An absolute twat of himself, because to go from, we have to understand that mistakes happen, with what happened in our game against Spurs. So let's put this in context, right? What happened in our game against Spurs was unprecedented. It wasn't a debatable refereeing decision. It wasn't subjective. That's what we're talking about generally, right? All 3 of these things that he's talking about, plus 2 potential red cards in that game, all 5 of those things are all subjective refereeing decisions. Now, my big wider point on all of this, for everyone involved in football, me and you, every twat on the internet who talks about it, every supporter, every manager, this is what we all have to accept about football. Most of it is subjective. So do you know when a ref makes a decision you don't like? If some people think they were right and some people think they were wrong, you just have to swallow that. Because that's the game. Whether there's a video... something that drives me mad about VAR and has always driven me mad is this concept that people have in their mind that it's some form of fucking AI. It's another ref watching a replay.
Going,
That's all it is.
I think he's got both feet off the ground there, so I think he's out of control.
That's all it is.
Isn't it more of an orange though, lad?
Exactly.
Yeah, I know.
That's all it is, right? So when we've got decisions in sport that are subjective, and some people think
and you've got this clear and obvious get-out clause.
I mean, let's not even get into that, right? If it's subjective, that means there isn't a right or wrong answer. It's just subjective. And if you disagree with what other people think, so what? Sometimes you'll get the benefit of that. Sometimes you won't. It doesn't even out over the season. So let's stop saying that.
I hate that. I hate that.
But with all of that, with all of that, the thing that happened to us in the game against Spurs wasn't subjective and wasn't a fucking general disagreement as to whether it's a red or not, or whether it's
nothing like
it was a fucking goal that was disallowed because the referee in their team, loads of them, were fucking incompetent. Yeah. The only lad with any competence in that whole fucking scenario was the lad who runs the fucking videos. That's why we had a cob on about it. And let me be clear as well, for anyone who didn't see us talk about that. Me and you and millions of other Liverpool fans were not asking for a replay.
No.
We still didn't ask afterwards for a replay. When Klopp asked for a replay and a mate rogue. Of yours were next to him in the fucking press conference was like, fucking hell, Jürgen, what have you done here? Klopp was out on a fucking limb asking for a replay.
Yeah.
There were some Liverpool fans asking for replays. I saw Rob Gutman, our mate, was asking for replay. Sound. Most of us weren't. What we were asking for was what we said. What we said was, why doesn't everyone come behind us so we can sort this shit out?
Yeah.
And that's where Arteta's making an absolute twat of himself, because he chose back then. He didn't choose to stay silent and he didn't choose to support it when it was nothing to do with Arsenal. And he could have just come in behind Liverpool, as you said, and said, they're right. The refereeing's not good enough. We need to sort this out. Instead of that, he's waited until there's subjective things that he disagrees with to make this strong statement. Well, do you know when he says he feels embarrassed? Sound, mate, you should be embarrassed about your reaction to all of it, because it's your reaction's a disgrace. And I like Carragher saying, I'm sick of the fucking clubs putting statements out as well.
Yeah.
Stop it. They're subjective decisions. Everyone, I know I'm on a rant here, but do you know the ball over the line thing? I'm fucking sick of it. I'm sick of grown humans not understanding that a ball is round. So it can look like it's over a line, right?
Spherical,
from one angle. Yeah.
Before you get that,
I know, yeah. The number of and do you know what? Fair play to the people who put it on the fucking internet now. Pictures of Sabutio balls with fucking lines going, yeah, lads, just for those of you who aren't fucking bright enough to pick this up, it can look like it's over the line from one angle, but from above, it's not. Because not enough people are repeating this. I think loads of people don't know the rule. The whole of the ball has to be over the whole of the line,
yeah.
Which means the edge of the ball has to be past the line, not the bottom of the ball, you fucking stupid bastards. All of these, right? And I'm with you. Watch them all back. I think it's a push in the back. But you know what? Gary Neville on telly didn't. He said, as a former defender, he's been the defender, throwing himself forward to try and flick the ball on. So he didn't think it was a foul. Well, guess what? That's just tough shit. It's subjective. That isn't a VAR mistake. That isn't a refereeing mistake. It's subjective. So you've just got to swallow it. And that's where I think there's a line here for everybody. And most people are on the wrong side of it. And back to what you started this with and my fucking ranting monologue now. You've missed your fucking chance, boys. So fuck yous.
Yeah.
I made up it's happened to you.
Yeah. And look, you know what you're getting now is like sort of mad proposals of how to fix it. So I was seeing this thing and I thought, that definitely won't happen. Again, my mate Henry Winter, I seen a tweet from him earlier saying, what needs to happen is...
Go on.
Straight away.
I'm looking forward to this.
He essentially said, paraphrasing, that in the next international break, they should get managers with Howard Webb, and they just all have a big meeting and decide how they can all sort it out. And it's like, yeah, that's what we wanted after Spurs, mate, when it was like a monumental fuck up that like no one had seen before, a new level of incompetency. And not all we were asking as Liverpool fans were, well, aren't you going to do something about this to change this, to make sure it doesn't happen again? And now, after an incident where it's nothing like as bad, and where, you know, as you say, like Havertz could easily have been sent off, so you've benefited from a decision in the same game.
This is the bit, sorry to interrupt you for another ramble. This is the other bit that you're making a twat of yourself, Arteta, and every other manager, and I'll include our manager on this as well, by the way. If you're going to rant about referees after the game, at least have the good sense to include your own that benefited you. If you like that clip, you can catch the full shows live at 5 on a Monday or followed up on a Wednesday on the This Is Anfield YouTube channel.